You just finished work. You're sitting on the couch. Nothing's on fire. Nobody needs anything from you right now. And you feel nothing. You're not sad. You're not happy. You're just flat, like someone unplugged you. And the weird part, you were completely fine an hour ago. You were sending emails, making decisions, handling problems. You were on. And now you're just here, staring at your phone without reading it, scrolling through something without absorbing a single word. Part of you thinks you should be relieved. The day is over. You made it. But there's no relief. There's just this strange emptiness that you don't have a word for. So you figure it's exhaustion. You tell yourself you're just tired and that you'll feel better tomorrow, that you're probably just bad at switching off. And then tomorrow comes and the same thing happens. And you've started to wonder if this is just who you are now. It's not. And I want to explain what's actually going on because it's something very specific. Once you understand it, the whole pattern starts to make a lot more sense. Here's what I want you to understand first. You've been running a very specific operating system all day. A program that says, keep going, stay focused, hold it together, don't feel anything that would slow you down. And when you're a high achiever who's been in back-to-back meetings and making judgment calls and managing other people's emotions while keeping your own in check, that program has been running at full capacity for 8 to 10 hours straight. Think of it like this. Imagine holding a rubber band stretched as far as it'll go. Not snapping it, just holding it there, tight, for the entire workday. When you finally let go, it doesn't gently return to its original shape, it collapses. It goes slack. That slack, that sudden loss of tension, is what the emotional flatness at night actually is. Your body has been holding tension all day to keep you functional. And when the day ends, it releases. And that release doesn't feel like relief, it feels like numbness. That's what's happening on one level. But there's a deeper layer to this, a belief layer, that makes the shutdown feel even heavier. And that's what I really want to get into because that's where things get specific to high achievers in a way that most people don't really connect. Here's the belief piece. A lot of high achievers have a subconscious equation running in the background that ties their worth to their output. When you're producing, when you're useful, when you're needed, there's a part of you that feels okay, a part of you that has a reason to be there. When the output stops, something shifts. Part of you doesn't know what to do. There's no task to complete, no problem to solve, no way to prove, even just to yourself, that you're doing enough. And in that gap, in that space between the last obligation of the day and whatever comes next, part of you starts to get really uncomfortable. That discomfort doesn't show up as a clear thought. You're not going to sit down and think, I feel worthless because I'm not being productive right now. It shows up as restlessness, as the inability to just sit somewhere without reaching for your phone, as this vague sense that you should be doing something even when you've already done plenty. And here's what makes this specific to anxiety and perfectionism. For perfectionists, the bar is always moving. You finish the day, but part of you is already reviewing it. Did I handle that conversation right? Should I have responded to that email differently? Was I as sharp as I could have been in that meeting? The productivity is done, but the mental performance review has just started. So even after the work ends, part of you is still in it, still scanning, still running the tape, which means the flatness and the restlessness can exist at the same time. You're too exhausted to do anything and too activated to actually let the day go. That's a very specific kind of miserable, and I want you to know that it makes complete sense. I want to tell you about Alex because his situation illustrates this in a way that's hard to capture abstractly. Alex is a physician who's been practicing medicine for about 15 years. He came to see me because he thought he had an anxiety problem and couldn't figure out why he felt so disconnected from his life outside of work. He described his days as extremely demanding in a way that most people don't appreciate. Every hour he's making clinical decisions, he's reading patients, he's managing nurses, residents, and administrative demands. He's holding space for people who are scared or in pain, while simultaneously keeping his own emotional reactions completely in check so he can function. That's part of the job. By the time he gets home, usually around 7 p.m., his kids want to tell him about their days. His partner wants to connect. And Alex told me he would stand in his kitchen feeling like there was a pane of glass between him and everything happening around him. He was physically present. He'd answer questions, he'd set the table for dinner, but he wasn't connected to any of it. He told me he started to believe he was a bad father and husband, that he'd given everything he had to his patients and his family was getting what was left over, which felt like nothing. He'd lie awake at night replaying moments from the evening, cataloging the ways he'd been distracted or short or just absent. wondering what was wrong with him. What I told Alex is what I'm about to tell you. What he was experiencing had a name and an explanation. His nervous system had spent 15 hours running the Hold It Together program at full capacity. The moment he walked through his front door and the performance requirements dropped, it collapsed. The flatness, the glass wall feeling, the inability to connect, that's what happens when an operating system that's been working overtime finally stops getting the signal it was built to respond to. And the guilt he felt about it, the mental review, the self-criticism, the what's wrong with me loop, that was the perfectionism. That was the part of him that couldn't just let the day be over without making the shutdown mean something about who he was. I want to slow down here and explain something important. The subconscious belief driving this pattern in most high achievers is something like this. My value depends on what I produce or how useful I am to others. When you're producing, when you're staying in motion, that belief stays satisfied. There's always a next task, a next meeting, a next thing to respond to. The belief gets fed all day. The moment the day ends, the belief loses its feeding source, and a subconscious belief that isn't getting what it needs doesn't go quiet. It creates discomfort. It generates restlessness. It makes you feel like something is off, even when everything is objectively fine. For people with high functioning anxiety, this can feel especially confusing because you weren't walking around all day feeling anxious. You were functioning well. You were handling things. So how are you supposed to connect that version of yourself to the person who can't hold a basic conversation with their spouse at 8 p.m. at night? Here's the connection. High functioning anxiety isn't about falling apart. It's about working so hard to not fall apart that your nervous system runs on overdrive just to hold everything together. The performance is real. The competence is real. And the cost of sustaining both of those things all day is also real. It just shows up later when the structure that was holding everything in place comes down. So what do you do with this information? I want to be direct. I'm not going to give you a wind down routine. You've probably already tried several. A workout after work, journaling, leaving your phone in another room, and they probably helped a little or didn't help at all because the problem isn't that you need a better evening strategy. The problem is that both your subconscious and nervous system have learned over a long time, probably starting well before your current job, that being on is what keeps you okay. That performing, producing, and holding it together is how you stay connected, feel worth something, earn your place. And when you try to interrupt that with a different routine, part of you is still running the original program underneath it. The shift doesn't come from overriding the shutdown. It comes from understanding it and building in moments of real relief. So here's the one thing I want you to do this week, just one. When you hit the wall tonight, when the flatness shows up or the restlessness or that glass wall feeling, I want you to notice it without immediately trying to explain it away or fix it. Don't label it exhaustion. Don't tell yourself you're bad at switching off. Just notice what's actually there. Notice whether it's flat or hollow or heavy. Notice whether there's tension in your jaw and shoulders or a pit in your stomach or a fluttering in your chest. Notice whether part of you is still reviewing the day. Notice whether there's a low-level restlessness underneath the exhaustion, that sense that you should be doing something even though you can't do one more thing. You don't have to fix any of what you notice. The subconscious starts to shift around what gets acknowledged, not what gets managed away. So naming the pattern, even just to yourself, in your own head, is what starts to change your relationship with it. I want to close with something I need you to hear. The fact that you can hold everything together all day, that you can manage that much, perform at that level, carry that much weight without visibly cracking, that's not a small feat. It took years to build that. The shutdown at night isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you've been spending enormous amounts of energy in a very specific direction for a very long time. And part of you has started to believe that the spending is the problem, that you should be able to do all of that and still have something left over for the people you love. You can't, and neither can anyone else who's running that hard. The goal here isn't to fix anything. It's to get curious about why the shutdown is happening in the first place and how you experience that in your body. Because the body is how your subconscious speaks to you. If something in this video resonated, I'd love to hear more about your own experience. Drop it in the comments. The more specific, the better, because it really shapes what I create next. And if you want to go deeper on the belief piece, specifically the part about worth, output, and what happens to your sense of self when the performance stops, that's the core of my book, Unpacked: How to Detach from the Subconscious Beliefs That Are Sabotaging Your Life. It's written for people who want to understand and change what's driving their patterns at the root, not just manage their symptoms better. The link is below if you want to check it out.